Good morning, welcome. It's Tuesday the 26th of March. As always, this is Yesterday Today and I'm Ben. And today we're going back to the Bournemouth Guardian on the 26th of March 1921. Giant cannibal race. Blood-curdling stories of a cannibal race existing in central Brazil are contained in a letter which one of 3 ex-officers who left Southport to explore that country has sent home. The expedition, comprising Captain R. Hall, Lieutenant Reginald and Sub-Lieutenant L. Marston Smith of the Royal Naval Reserve, have reached Manaus at the junction of the Rio Negro and the Amazon. "We have received some extraordinary information here," writes Lieutenant Marston Smith. "In regards to other expeditions, some were tragic failures, others successful in their objectives. In conversation with an engineer here who fitted out the well-known Brazilian explorer Dr. Hamilton Price from America, I received the startling news that he struck a race of white cannibals 7 feet in height. Further, I have spent some considerable time with the French doctor who has been home to France and is now on his way back, hundreds of miles north of the Rio Negro. He is a white man married to a cannibal woman. In conversation with him, I gleaned that their method was to lash the man to be eaten to a post alive in front of a fire and to cut off slices which they calmly grill." So there we go, giant cannibals in the Amazon. There's a brilliant piece of colonial nonsense to kick things off. And the next piece, whilst quite long, it's worth bearing in mind that this is on the very front and centre of the first page of the newspaper. And I clipped the start because it's quite a long piece and it's a little bit unwieldy. But basically it starts off as a conversation between the writer and another man about an article that he was reading in a magazine. So we're going to pick it up there. "He handed over the magazine and I read a short account that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle says and Mr. Lonsdale of Bournemouth gave him of an incident he observed some years ago in the presence of a late Mr. Turvey. The latter is described as one of the most gifted clairvoyants in England, whose book, In the Beginnings of Seership, should be in the library of every student. Mr. Lonsdale, he says, is also a well-known sensitive. I don't know either of them, nor have I read the book, nor do I want to put into my comments anything that might seem to be unfair, but frankly, I start off on the incredulous platform. The two were, so says Mr. Lonsdale, sitting in Mr. Turvey's garden in Branksome Park in a hut that had an opening that looked out onto the lawn. They had been very quiet and presently saw some little figures dressed in brown peering through the bushes. In a few seconds, a dozen or more small people about 2 feet in height in bright clothes and with radiant faces ran onto the lawn, dancing hither and thither. I glanced at Turvey to see if he saw anything and whispered, 'Do you see them?' He nodded. These fairies played about, gradually approaching the hut. One little fellow, bolder than the others, came to a croquet hoop close to the hut and, using the hoop as a horizontal bar, turned round and round it, much to our amusement. Some of the others watched him, while others danced about, not in any set dance. But seemingly, evidently in response to some signal or warning from those dressed in brown who had remained at the edge of the lawn, they all ran into the wood." Sir Arthur comments that knowing Mr. Lonsdale as a responsible, well-balanced and honourable man, he finds such evidence as this very hard to put on one side. In the same article, in which he gathers together the narratives of various persons who have said they have seen fairies, including his own 3 youngsters, he mentions another local instance thus. "Another gentleman who claims to have this most remarkable gift is Mr. Tom Charman, who builds for himself a shelter in the New Forest and hunts for fairies as any etymologist would for butterflies. In answer to my inquiries, he tells me that the power of vision came to him in childhood, but left him for many years, varying in proportion with his own nearness to nature. According to this seer, the creatures are of many sizes, varying from a few inches to several feet. They are male and female and children. He has not heard them utter sounds, but believes that they do so, of finer quality than we can hear. They are visible by night as well as by day, and they show small lights about the same size as glowworms. They dress in all sorts of ways, such as Mr. Charman's account. Still full of doubt, one asks where creatures of 2 or 3 feet in height live, that they are so seldom to be seen in a country so overrun with real human beings. Each hedge, pit, path and group of trees almost has been planned to scale on the Ordnance Survey maps of England. No areas of sufficient density and natural characteristics permit of the existence of real solid fairies, elves or gnomes without them being seen, not by one especially sensitive person in a million, but constantly. I confess the problem of how such things can live, clothe themselves in coats, dresses, even to peak caps and red shoes, and maintain so secret an existence. It is beyond my comprehension. On the other hand, we know so little of nature beyond our own stupid selves that if we deny the possibility of everything we cannot all of us see, we are even more stupid. We do not actually know an iota of whence we ourselves came, or where we may go in our afterlives. In our hearts we accept the amazing and yet unknown facts of life, and hope and believe, surely, that the end of the life we see is not the ultimate end. If so, we must believe that there are forms of life beyond our ken, and if in the future, why not in the past? It is much too big a problem for me, and I give it up. I should like to see a fairy with my own eyes, I said. What would you do if he did? He asked. Go to the doctor at once, I replied. Yeah, so that's, for some reason, bang, on the first page, headline news that in 1921. So finally, after that long piece, let's finish up with a lovely bit of walking. Walking record. F.W. Preston of the Leicester Harriers will start at 2:15 today from the Uppingham Hotel in an attempt to beat the 1 hour, 27 minutes, 23 seconds in a walk to Houghton on the Hill and back. Local walkers are asked to turn out and assist. The judge will be Mr. F. Tolton and the timekeepers Messrs. H. Thompson and F. Cox. I absolutely love the weird stories about walking as if it was a sport, and the sheer obscurity of this one is amazing. What I really want to know though is how were they expected to assist? Were they holding back like the wild throng of watchers, or handing him cups of water as he walks for an hour and a half? I mean, surely you just let the chap get on with it. He's only walking a few miles. Anyway, that was yesterday. This is today. Have a good one.